What are the pros and cons of a business trust? My name is Andrew Ayers. I'm a business law and estate planning attorney with offices in Edina, Minnesota and New York City. And today we're going to talk about one of those areas of law where estate planning and business law overlap, and that's the idea of a business trust. So when we're looking at a business trust, the first thing I'm going to have to warn you is that this is not for everybody. Many people creating a business don't need to go to the lengths of creating a business trust. However, for others, there may be some significant reasons why it would benefit you. So what we're going to do today is look through a few of the pros and a few of the cons of a business trust. And from there, you can start that thought process and start those questions of, does a business trust make sense for you and your business? First thing we're going to look at is the pros of a business trust. First thing it's going to do, it's going to avoid probate when the business owner dies. So with the business trust, instead of you owning your company individually, the trust is the one who owns the business. So if something happens to you as the owner of the business who owns it in a business trust, you're probably the trustee in most cases, then when you die, the trust will still be there to manage and own the business, and you won't have to worry about a probate court being involved with your business and trying to sort out who should inherit it. Next thing it does in connection with the probate court is also it will reduce any possible estate taxes because, again, the business won't be part of your estate. The trust will be the one owning the business and managing it, so you tend to have less in estate taxes, if any, because the business is not going to be subject to the probate court and is not going to be part of your probate estate. And third reason that we have for using a business trust is a succession plan. So I'm a big proponent of making sure you have a business succession plan in your documents. But if you don't, one way to create a plan is by using the trust, where you have a trustee, likely you, owning the business and running the business, but then you have a succession of trustees after you who can then take over and keep the business going when you die or if you become incapacitated. If the next pro for a business trust is if you want to make sure you're keeping your business assets separate from your personal assets. The business trust will work similar to an LLC in that the business is not owned by you personally. The trust is the one who owns it, and the trust can even own an LLC, and this gives you an additional layer of protection from liability. Another advantage you may have is it gives you greater privacy protection. So many of my clients will create a trust to either own assets or own their house. And rather than put it in the name of John Smith, they'll create a trust with an opaque name, meaning the Gold Wallpaper Trust. Now, when someone looks up the property records for their house, they see it's owned by the Gold Wallpaper Trust. That doesn't tell you who owns the house. Similar with the business that the trust may own. When people look up the filings online with your estate, it'll say the Gold Wallpaper Trust. It won't say your name. So if you have reasons you want more privacy, using a trust to own your business gives you another layer on top of just the LLC's name. If you have concerns about protecting your assets from creditors, an LLC and a trust will both do this as well. We want to keep these businesses out of your personal name, so we keep your personal assets off the table if there's a lawsuit or some kind of dispute regarding your business. And finally, it's a simple formation process compared to some other business structures. We're just creating a trust that can then own your company. Rather than create more advanced structures, a business trust can be a quick way that we can get your business set up, and all of these different pros can be available to you, especially the liability protection and the privacy you're looking for. Now, for everybody, as I said, a business trust is not necessarily the way to go. There are 3 complications you may run into if you create a business trust to own your business. The first is there's going to be an ongoing cost to maintain the trust. So somebody's got to manage the trust. There's going to be additional administration costs. It's going to have separate paperwork it needs to file. The second complication you may run into is there's different legal regulations, especially from the IRS, regarding how the business is to be treated when it's owned by a trust. And the third is the fiduciary relationship that can be present between the trustee and the beneficiaries. It's going to require the trustee to act in the best interest of the beneficiaries of the trust as opposed to necessarily the shareholders of the business. So it's a little different than your typical LLC, but it's not necessarily that different. So you want to make sure you're understanding these 3 complications before you just run off to your attorney and say, I want to set up a business trust. And the important part of that last statement is go to an attorney to make sure you set it up correctly. This is not something I would trust to an online website. There's intricate parts of creating a business trust that would own your assets, that would own your company, and especially if it's going to own your property as well, like your house. We want to make sure this trust is set up correctly. I'm constantly asked by clients to fix trusts with all kinds of minor problems that could have been avoided if the client had worked with an attorney in the first place. So if you're not sure where to go from here and you want to discuss the idea of putting your business into a trust further, let's set up a legal strategy session. You can go to my website, andrewmayers.com. There's a red legal strategy session button on the front page. You'll be taken to my calendar and we can set up a quick legal strategy session. 15 or 20 minutes, we can go through your current situation and what are the issues you're facing, and we can help you take those next steps to determine if a business trust is right for you and your business.